So I went to Vidiots for the first time and I watched Millennium Actress. I don't know much about Vidiots, but I have heard the name before. I must have saw a post online that they were showing Millennium Actress by Satoshi Kon, which I had never seen before. So I decided, why not? Check it out. If you go onto their website, they say that there's street parking, but there's also a small parking lot about 5-6 minutes away. So I decided to do that. It was like under $5 for parking. And you get to Vidiots, there's like video rental, there's a theater. It's a cool place. The theater itself was kind of flat. It doesn't have that like step feel that a lot of theaters have these days. So be mindful of that. It felt like we were all on the same level looking at the screen, and I thought it might be an issue, especially with having to read subtitles at the bottom of the screen for the movie. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was fine. So in terms of Millennium Actress, Satoshi Kon is a genius. I love Perfect Blue. I love it so much. So Millennium Actress, the movie begins with these two guys. They're like, I'm not sure if they're reporters or documentarians. They are going to this older actress's house to interview her, to ask her some questions about her life. And she's aged out of the film business and she's reclusive. She doesn't grant a lot of interviews. So this is kind of an interesting, surprising thing that she's allowing these two guys to come to her house and talk to her. The movie goes from there, and most of the movie is told in these flashbacks when she is describing the movies that she was in. But very quickly, the way Satoshi Kon tells the story is very interesting and unique, because even in the first flashback, the two guys are showing up in the flashback as well. So as the audience, you're kind of like, what the hell is going on? You have one guy holding the camera, and then the other guy who's, I guess, directing the documentary, or the main person asking the questions. So the movie jumps back and forth between the different movies that she's been in, but also I couldn't really tell, like, is this a movie? Is this part of her real life? Is this somewhere in between? And there's this running plot throughout the whole movie where, as a young girl, she meets this guy he's a little bit older. He's a painter and like a rebel. He's running from the law. She's enamored with this guy and she falls in love with him. He gives her this key and he tells her, like, this key is to the most important thing in the world. And he has to run off. And so she essentially spends her entire life trying to find him again. And again, as the movie is going, you can't really tell, like, did this really happen? Or is this in one of her movies? Is this part of her memories? Or is she trying to remember? And meanwhile, those two guys keep popping up in every flashback as kind of comic relief. Towards the end of the movie, I have to say, this is my own personal opinion, I started to feel like sorry for this lady. And I was like, man, you spent your whole life chasing this dream, chasing this fantasy, chasing this guy. And then I don't want to spoil the movie, but towards the end, something is revealed. The last line of the movie, which I don't want to say here, but it completely changed my mind. And I decided, like, no, she didn't waste her life chasing this dream. She found meaning in chasing that dream, in chasing this guy, in chasing this fantasy. She was happy with the journey, which is huge. That could be a metaphor for anything, for your dreams, for your ambitions. If you want to become anything, if you want to become a teacher, an actress, a musician, an artist, even if it's pointless, even if it's a dead end, like, the journey is the important part. The journey rather than the destination. But an interesting movie for sure. It's one of those movies that will reward repeat viewings. That being said, I'm not in a rush to re-watch it anytime soon, but I think I do own a copy of this movie, but I had never seen it. So I'll rewatch it eventually and hopefully pick up some more things along the way. But interesting movie for sure. I recommend checking it out. Millennium Actress.